Maine Knows How. Brought to you by A&G Shooting, Modern Woodmen of America, Mainly Handrails, Pine Grove Programs, Digital Spirit Media, and J.W. Parks Golf Course. Maine Knows How.
Welcome to the November edition of Maine Knows How. I'm Tim Corbett. I'm surrounded by howls. I've got Wyatt on my left and Bob on my right. And Bob, we're in the middle of a busy season.
It is. It's deer season.
Deer season,
Mm-hmm.
or as in Maine, as they say, everybody's going to deer camp.
Exactly. It's a time of year that's exciting, and people come from all over the United States to come to Maine to hunt deer.
Yep.
And some will be successful and some won't, and some will just have deer stories. But it's always good.
We just had in October, we had the golf tournament fundraiser.
Excellent. Thank you all you folks for helping us with this golf tournament, and it was another success. So that was great. So we can move on and do other things to help people.
And just a note on that to everybody listening, Pine Grove Programs does an incredible amount of work for veterans, law enforcement, and first responders, and it all costs money. And we offer free outdoor adventures. You just go to our website and you can see the different offerings that we have. But we just had upland game.
We did. We had a David Jambatruzzi bird hunt and some rabbit hunts and lots of different things.
The rabbit hunts are coming.
Yep.
Wyatt, are you exercising those dogs?
Oh yeah, they're getting out there running. They're at peak. They're at prime now.
Right now, their paws are all hardened.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
They're ready to go.
Yeah.
They're howling, ready to go.
You learned me up on that real good a couple sessions ago. So it's an exciting time at the lodge. Fall. You can see we all have our vests or covers on here. It's always cold, but it's always good. And
It's good tenting weather.
Well, with that, I think what we'll do is we'll take a quick break and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Great.
Thanks.
Maine Knows How is brought to you by J.W. Parks Golf Course in Pittsfield, a 9-hole facility with a full-service pro shop and driving range offering daily fee golf and membership opportunities. And by A&G Shooting, a brick-and-mortar gun shop offering firearms training and 100% customer satisfaction. And by Digital Spirit Media, providing over 30 years of technical expertise in media production and event production services.
Welcome back again to Maine Knows How. If you like fishing, if you like catching big fish, if you like catching big fish in lakes in Maine, well then you're in for a treat, because today we have an expert, somebody who has spent decades perfecting his craft, and his name is Dennis Bolduc, and we welcome you to Maine Knows How.
Thank you very much.
Did I talk you up enough?
Yeah, I feel like I'm shrinking in this.
Well, great. We've been having some off-camera conversations, but I'd like you to basically take us from beginning to end about some of your experiences with when you start in the season and how you get through it and how you get your bait and everything.
Well, we start just as soon as the ice goes out. That's we look forward to that. And at the same time the ice goes out is when the smelt runs start. So we need smelts to fish with, we troll with, we sew them on. And I don't use anything else. I use it the whole summer, all year. And it's just a fun thing to do. The only thing we change is when we sew our smelts on, right at the early season, they're just barely on the surface. Everything's on the surface for nice fish. That's our fun time, because you don't have to work so hard of going 3 or 4 colors of lead core down. It gets a little tedious sometimes, checking them and changing them all the time. But ice out is definitely our favorite.
So when ice goes out and you start your fishing, your trolling,
right?
Where do you get your bait?
There's all kinds of smelt runs. They happen at different times during the first month and a half of spring, and it's word of mouth. You check them out. They run at night, and once you find out there's one or two there's going to be more the next night. And they set up. They use drop nets. They use hoop nets to pull them up. The smelts go over the top of them, and you just pull up. And their natural defense is to go down, so it's a double whammy for them. But we get smelts, and you measure up. You're allowed 2 quarts, and we use them for fishing mostly.
So you catch the smelt,
Yeah.
and you're catching 2 quart. How many are in 2 quarts?
Well, it depends on the size of the smelt.
Sure.
But they have measuring buckets. But they average there, 21, 22 dozen for 2 quarts.
Do you have
Sometimes more.
Do you have a favorite size when it comes to
Yeah,
smell?
I love 4-inch smelts. Yeah,
Yep.
it's something about it there that the fish like, and because I've used all kinds of different ones, and I noticed that the bigger smelts, and it's just me personally. Other people might have a lot of luck with a 5-inch smelt. I just 4-inch smelt. You can go, 4.5 or 3.5. You're going to catch nice fish. Yeah.
Do you keep them bait alive, Dennis?
Yeah, so we have a nice setup there. Some guy was building a house, had to be 30 years ago. They wanted to put in a foundation. Well, they hit ledge, so they had to blast. When they blasted, out come this spring, and it still hasn't stopped running. So he put 3 tanks in. He got ahead of me there. He put 3 tanks in. And after I met him, and he said, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I thought I was going to raise fish. I said, geez, I'm looking for a place to put smelts. And so it keeps them alive there for a couple of months there. Usually by June, we're getting into the frozen smelts.
Yeah.
But it's just nice having live smelts. Yeah.
Oh, so you can catch them in early spring. You put them in that tank.
Yeah. Water's
and you have
running
them
in.
right through.
Yeah. Water's
Okay.
running in, water's running out, so there's no maintenance to them.
So when you have to freeze them, how do you go about doing that?
There's 100 different ways to freeze smelts. Everybody's got their secret, whether they're using sawdust or Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
they
they
do.
do.
They firm believers, and I don't knock it. I just, everybody's got a different way. I just do a simple. I use 3 wraps of Reynolds wrap, tin foil, 3 layers of it, and I just lay the smelts down. When I take them out of the tank, I let them sit there for like 10 minutes because they'll flip for a long time. So, to speed up the process, you just wait 10 minutes and then you can just lay them out right in a line. I try not to have them touch each other because they tend to, when they freeze, when they thaw, they'll draw off each other. So you lose a little color that way. If they're not touching each other, boy, they come out black. Just as you swear, a lot of people, when I go fishing in the summertime, they think that, hey, is those live? No. Did you just kill them? No. These have been frozen for 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
'Cause
great.
So
Because the smelt lose a lot of color after they.
they do. Yeah. So,
It don't take long either.
and it doesn't take long. That's right.
What's your opinion on like colored and dyed bait?
Yeah. So they have a lot of those preserved smelts,
Yeah.
different colors and stuff. I hear good things about them. People give me free samples just to try them.
Yeah.
And I haven't had much luck, but I will admit I don't spend much time on them. If they're not producing, I go right back to it's hard to stop when you catch big fish. I said, I don't want to change. I fish with people sometimes and yeah, you can go. I mean, anybody can fish for a couple hours and not get a hit.
Oh, yeah.
But once you find them, and then it could be a completely different day. So I'll have people go, hey, can we change over to lures? I don't think so. We want to stick with these smelts because I'm telling you, they're sooner or later they're going to produce for you.
So can you tell me how it is that you go about sewing?
Yeah, it's when I first started doing it, it was a single hook, and you go up the anal vent, out the mouth, and go around the side of it a couple times. They have in most books will show you that method. And it does a slow roll, and it's really pretty effective. But I never caught big fish until I met a family that they were big fishermen, and they started using treble hooks. And I said, "Oh, geez, I kind of like the single hooks because your mortality. Oh, you're gonna like this because it's trolling there. All the fish, and they haven't lied to me. 98% of the fish you catch are caught right in the corner of the mouth, easy to release." And that's what I like to do, is I like to release them. But the difference between using a treble hook, you sew them up fairly the same way, but they'll do a waggle instead of the slow roll.
Because of the treble.
Yeah, I think it's the weight of it. I think it is. When they use a single hook, they end up putting it in on the side of the bait. And I think it's like a counterweight. That's what makes it do that big turn. The treble is more down the middle. So it has. So once you get a little bend in it, it doesn't have much choice other than, hey, I'm okay. No, I'm not. Hey, I'm okay. That sort of
So
thing.
does the treble have a long shank that you can push through, or are you using a leader?
Oh yeah, you use a 18-inch leader on it. Yeah, it's tied, and they're not long shanks. No, they just stick right in the anal vent. Yeah, yeah. So, but anyway, it's been very effective for me.
Wow.
So when you talk about big fish,
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of fish and what kind of big are we
So,
talking?
well, so a 3 to 5 pound fish is big for most anybody.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And we start catching them in the double digits. Some of the say rainbow trout, for instance, it was very difficult to get one over 3 pounds, 5 pounds. Geez, I've gotten several 6.5 pound rainbows now. My best is 7.1.
Nice fish.
Brown trout, we got one 14 pounds. A lot of 9s, a lot of 10s. You could just see the difference in that method. So, but if you read the research, though, they talk about that wobble of a bait. That's more natural than what they see in the live. Obviously you can't interview fish; it'd be nice, but that's what they see mostly. That circle, that slow roll, is for the spring smelt run. There's a lot of fish go through the smelts, and there are a lot of injured ones, and you see more of that. But once the smelt runs are gone and they're gone down deeper water, they see that. That's how they go sideways like that, back and forth.
So I got a question about how you select a lake. But first, I want to give a warning to those folks watching, because your results are not typical of the average fisherman. Hacks like me don't catch 5 and 6 pound lake trout and rainbows. It certainly must be something that you've perfected as far as speed and depth and everything.
Exactly. The thing that changes in fishing mostly is the depth. They may be at a different depth every couple of weeks. Once you find them, you can get several days in a row, and you don't have to move your lines at all. But patience is the big thing, because sometimes I could fish the whole day and have one monster fish.
Right.
Well, there ain't too many people I know that are going to complain when it happens. They say all of a sudden, hey, it's a great day.
Right.
Whereas absolutely nothing happened before. But it's the patience that's really key. But the other thing is, we're on a fish finding mission. When we start, we spread out the lines. And like I said, when I started about ice out, we put our lines out where the lead core is just barely touching the water, like 2 feet is touching the water, just enough to get below the surface. So a lot of times we'll put one out like that. We'll put one out a half a color and a half, 2.5, just space them out. Find out where they are. If you're not getting anything, then change it a half color one way or the other, So you have different, and that's how we do it. You just keep trolling areas that you've known you've caught them before.
And that early in the season, you're not using a downrigger or anything. You're just using the lead core.
There's a lot of people that use downriggers early in the season, but they only get them down, just not very far.
All right.
Yeah.
So lake selection.
Okay, so it's like anybody else said, hey, where'd you get that one? Word of
That's
mouth.
when the line begins, right?
Word of mouth. Say, because I get information all the time. Hey, try this lake, boy. I'm hearing good things. We'll go and try it. Most times they're right, but sometimes it ain't happening. Somebody's either got the wrong lake or whatever. They're not here. And but usually, if they have nice fish, we'll bump into them sooner or later.
So you find your lake.
Yeah.
Now, one question I had for you earlier off camera was, do you have to make sure the lake that you're fishing has smelt, a natural smelt population?
Well, yeah, that's a good question, because there's a lot of lakes I use my smelts. They don't have smelts in them. They recognize that dying motion there, where they relate it to food more than, hey, that's a smell. because I can't explain it any other way. You know, why would you? Because people told me that, oh, it ain't going to work good for you. I said, well, let's try it and see, and it has.
Yeah.
Plenty of places that don't have smelt. They'll take those smelts.
So I also hear a lot of folks that troll will try to different colors on their lures or whatever bait they're putting out. But you're just going with smelt.
Right. Yeah.
The natural colors of the smelt.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that black and white that's flashing. When it goes from side to side, you'll see dark, you'll see light. It's the dark. I think that's an attractive. But when I first started, I used lures because I didn't know much about smells. And the colors have a lot to do with it. You know, I don't, you know, the reds and oranges, they were always popular with us. But blues and whites, I hear, you know, it was funny, a story up the Moose Head there was a family next to us, that's all they used was streamer flies.
Right.
And they had 2 boats, and they were fishing, and they started getting into them. So I hear over there, we're right next to one of the boats, you hear the guy on the radio, Joey, more blue, Joey. He's up on the top tying streamers as they catch them.
Yeah.
So that's into it.
Do you use any like flashers or dodgers?
Yeah, no.
Just straight.
It really simple. The simpler the better.
Yep.
Yeah, simple the better.
Just keep it natural.
That's right.
Yep.
Just like, hey, they just bumped into a you know, hurting bait. That's the whole thing.
That's great.
We use 35-foot leaders. Get
35-foot leaders.
Yeah, 35.
Wow.
Another thing, I've read a couple of bait books from the old timers, and they claim that a 35-foot leader puts a nice bow in it there. So it's not a straight line, so they, you know, they can see when they come up to it. They also claim that game fish will come up and look at the bait first before they just don't, you know, hit it every time like that. And so the line is like coming up, and they don't quite see it. So.
Do you use mono or do you use fluorocarbon?
We switched to fluorocarbon whenever it came out, so it's been 25 years at least.
Yeah.
What a difference our catch weight went right up, especially when you're fishing on the surface. When you're using just your 35-foot leader and maybe 2 feet of lead, yeah, big difference. Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of my head is kind of exploding here with 35-foot carbon leaders and whatnot.
Fluorocarbon leaders. Yeah.
I mean, it's just I would never have thought something like that. So when you select a lake and you're out there, do you have any way of going for particular species or?
And that's the beauty of this method there. I'm targeting something, but there's always bonus fish you're getting. It's lovely.
Right.
You know, most lakes, you know, they have 3 or 4 species in it. You know, and they have a primary one. And generally, that's the one you're going to get the most of. But yeah, we get, if it's in the lake, they're going to take a smell.
So how do you find, now you've been fishing Maine lakes for decades.
Right. Yeah, I don't go out of state. I feel like I'm going to get spoiled if I go. Everybody says, go to the big lakes again. I don't want to, you know, I'm going to be moving to the big lakes. You know, I want to stay. I love it, Maine. I love Maine. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, are you looking for any particular depths or, I mean, you got to know that the lake has been stocked or that there's a natural run.
Right. So what you're doing is you're making passes across the, and your depth finder gives you a lot of information, depth and stuff. So here's a good example there. We're fishing Sebago Lake, 60 boats out there. Okay?
Which is a big lake.
It is, but the fish are all concentrated in the spring. They're all there, the mouth of the Songo. And so anyway, we're fishing. So we sort of get pushed out from where we are. I have a small boat. I don't mind that because I feel that we're going to get them someplace. So anyway, we go out to the middle. So 300 feet of water. We're still using the same spring get up there, just right on the bang, we get a 7-pound salmon. Oh, we're going to stay here for a while. And that's what we do every year now. We're out in the middle of that lake, not in the front, because we were getting nice fish out front, but there was bigger ones out there just staging.
Right.
Was that early in the season?
Yeah, right at ice out.
Yeah.
And has Sebago not frozen over the last couple of years? Is that what I've heard?
As most lakes, you know, it's the winters have been very
mild.
Yeah, I'm from the Belgrade region. Yeah, you were lucky to fish in them halfway through January.
Yeah.
You know.
Lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took a long time this past year.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had to move our fishing derby a couple times now.
People have canceled derbies, that sort of thing.
Right.
It's it's hard.
Well, I hear this year it's going to be a cold winter.
Well, I hear that too, but flip the coin.
Yeah. Doesn't
Just
mean
don't
it's
know.
going to be.
That's right. You just don't know.
Yeah.
So most of your fishing is catch and release,
It is, yeah. We enjoy that because I love to see them get bigger.
right?
And if you don't let them go, those big ones.
Right.
Well, everybody's heard of Sebago, and most people have heard of Moosehead.
Yeah.
Great fisheries.
Yeah.
What about some of the smaller
So that's
lakes?
another good question. When people give me the information, hey, try this lake, sometimes they're really tiny lakes. They got huge fish in them. There's like 5 lakes right around the Sebago Lake area that all fish great. Yeah. So you just got to get out there and try it. Put your time in. And
So what about speed? You're in your
Yeah,
boat. Is that a classified secret? Or?
it is to get the bait just right. So, but it is. I'll just say it's under 2 miles an hour, and it's above 0.5.
It depends on which way you're going into the wind.
I like that.
Yeah. Because if you have a headwind, then it's slow,
But yeah, speed is real. I try not to change the speed. I try not to change anything but the depth.
Yep.
You get that waggle, you can usually catch fish. Yeah, it's just fun.
Well, I mean I guess with the depth and how critical that is, that correlates to the water temperature and the temperature that that particular fish likes to be in.
Yeah, but it all boils down to just like humans there. It's where the buffet is.
Yeah.
If there's a good smelt population there, they're going to hang there. Even if it's uncomfortable for them, they're going to come up and feed, go back down to the comfort zone. But you want to find where they're hanging. And yes, there's some truth to it. There's a zone they like to hang in. But boy, I'm telling you, there's sometimes there I'm just a color and a half in the middle of summer catching big salmon.
Well, that's where I was driving is that come July and August.
Right.
I mean, water temperatures on the surface.
High 70s.
Yeah.
80s,
High
yeah.
70s.
Yeah.
And it happened early.
So you
this year.
have to be real quick on catching fish. It's not like springtime where you play them, get those suckers in. If you lose one, you lose one. But if you play them a lot,
Kill 'em.
it is. You got to get them down there real quick.
You stress them out.
But really, it's amazing how you drop down 15 feet, how much the temperature changes.
Yeah.
So if the bait fish are there in the summertime, because we had a couple of lakes we were catching them in a color and a half down, right? And it was 85 degrees out up top.
Wow.
So yeah, you wouldn't think that. So a good example though is we had good luck at this lake down in Southern Maine, and we went there. My girlfriend and I, we went there and we fished for 4 hours, never got a hit. So we're down 3, 4 colors. That's where they are in the summertime. Nothing. I said, well, if we ain't getting nothing, let's go on the assumption there that they're not where we're putting the bait, so let's move them up. And I put just one at a color and a half. It was like a half hour later, that one zinged. I said, okay. And it was a big salmon. So I put 2 there. You get another one, you put 3 rods there. That's how you do it. Yeah. You can get triples and quadruples fishing that way.
See, a lot of these fish are digesting fish. They'll move down on the thermocline, but they're not feeding. You can troll through them till the
Right.
cows come home.
Yeah.
They're not feeding.
Yeah.
But when they are feeding, they come up to feed.
All right.
See how if you look at that pike over there, his eyes are located on the top of his head. That's because he's looking up.
Yeah.
He's not looking down.
But a lot of times there, when I'm out trolling with my depth finder, I'll be marking fish. I'm not really interested where the fish are. What I'm interested in, where they're biting. Okay? Because if I go through there and they don't bite, I'm just saying they're not interested or they moved off or whatever. But trying a different depth and they bite, that's the place you want to be.
So just because you have the depth sounder
Right.
that shows the fisher, there's a lot of fish at 30 feet.
Right.
It doesn't mean that's where you're setting
Right.
your hook.
Not necessarily, yes.
It's a good place to start.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
move
Everybody
around
does it. When I first started, I said, look at them.
Yeah.
Let's
You're
go down
exploding my
after them,
brain.
and you start doing anything. So, but usually just above them,
So tell me about pike. Do you catch many pike out there?
We do. So this is great. I use 8 pounds. So I use 10-pound test, 35-foot leaders. Then I add a length of leader of 8 to 9 foot, the length of your rod. Okay, so you can play your fish. And I do this deliberately, I use 8-pound tests. So the theory is if you're ever trolling, you hook bottom, you won't lose all the rig in there. The 8 pounds going to break off. Easy to change 9 foot than it is in 35. But anyway, pike, it's really funny. We think we'd lose them every time. We've lost a couple, but not many. If you play them easy, you'll get those suckers in. It's just like dental floss, that fluorocarbons right between their teeth when you pull them in. That is amazing that it ain't breaking. So we've caught a lot of big pike, yeah.
I agree with you.
But I'm
man.
not targeting them, so,
I've caught pike like that, and I use the boat to catch the fish.
Yeah.
I put very little pressure on the line.
Yeah. I always tell people to do what the fish wants. If he wants to run, let him run. If you hold him back, you're going to part company. You're going to, ding, it'll break. I've seen it. People hang on to the reel. And you can hear it, and I'm going, you got to let it go. Oh, I am. You got to let it go now. And they've lost it. You can see the line go up through your rod. It's kind of funny. Not for them.
And at that point in time, it was a 12-pound trout.
We always say that. The one that got away. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was a good.
That was really good.
I like to think that way. But
So what about time of day? Like,
So
how
this
early
is-
do you go out? Do
There
you
we
leave in
go.
the middle
So-
of the day or just go all day?
fishing first thing in the morning has always been good.
Mm-hmm.
So I still do it. We get up early and we go. But I'm telling you, we've had fantastic days from 10 to 2.
Yep.
Catch more fish then. Just first of all, you're experimenting finding them. If you found them the day before, then you go right back to that. Then you catch them, right off.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I'll spend 4 or 5 hours looking for them. And then once you find the depth, you get them all at that, you'll catch some nice fish. Yeah.
Weather conditions, rain, sun, clouds.
So everybody's got an opinion on that.
Yes.
Eat a salmon chop. Got to have a salmon chop.
Yeah.
Flat, calm, just as as a baby's bottom there, you can catch a lot of fish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any kind of day. Full moon, don't let anybody fool you about full moons, okay? If you got a chance to go fishing, go fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Don't worry about that. The only thing that stops us is heavy wind. That's our foe. Rain, we put up with it, but I'm getting older now, so we sort of pick our day. It's going to start tomorrow. Okay, that's the day to go.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But-
Well, and you were mentioning that early, is that it used to be, you said 20 years ago, you would identify a particular date 2 months out that you were going to go fishing with your buddies.
Right. Everybody wants to get together. Those trips are awful,
They're awful.
especially ice fishing season. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's some nasty weather in ice fishing, so you want to pick your.
Yeah.
So it just made sense to me. I said, I ain't doing that no more. I'm just gonna, hey, when my 3 days off come up here, let's see what the weather is. Oh, it's looking good. Let's go. And that's how I pick my lakes too. There's some lakes that you can fish with the wind on the shoreline, coming off that shoreline, you're protected.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be 15 mile an hour, but it's still just a light ripple there and you can fish.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big key to me.
Yep.
So if there was one thing that you would tell a beginner about trolling, what would that be?
Patience. Yeah.
Patience.
This takes a lot. A lot of people see me do it and they oh, that looks easy. There's a lot of work to it. It takes a long time to get really good with the sewing of the bait, to get it just right. I'll play with a bait 20 minutes sometimes to get it, make sure it's doing that waggle just right. Because if it ain't doing what it's supposed to do, you're sort of, in my opinion, wasting your time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, patience is the best thing. I've shown a lot of people, what I'm interested in is showing people who want to release fish. People want to kill all the big ones. It's sort of detrimental to be showing them that.
Right.
But if they want to release fish and they're really into it, and you can tell if somebody's into it.
Right.
And you just say, don't get discouraged, okay? Because we've had when we went out and the first 10 baits, I can't get a bait going today. And you look down, maybe it is the wind. The wind's holding me up a little bit. It's just not doing it. So we pick it up a notch or slow it down a notch, Just don't be afraid to change. That's the thing.
Perseverance.
It is.
Right.
So.
Okay.
And the beauty of fishing, though, in the springtime, they're right out in the middle. It's just as much as they are on shore.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid to move around.
They're all over.
They're
But
all over.
I guess the whole key is get out there and just do it.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
And
No doubt at all.
you'll gain the experience you need.
Right.
But getting that waggle
Yeah, that's the key,
That's the key.
in my opinion. Yeah.
All right. Well, Dennis, we thank you
Yeah, thank
for
you
your
very much.
insights.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to
You're welcome.
watch this podcast when it comes out and take more notes for a friend of mine.
Yeah. We'll name names.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it.
But Dennis, thanks for
thank
coming
you.
on
Thanks
and
for having me,
just
guys.
Thanks for
sharing
coming.
your
All
All
knowledge.
right, yeah, I appreciate it.
All right. We'll be right back.
Maine Knows How is brought to you by Modern Woodmen of America, a member-owned fraternal financial services organization since 1883. And by Pine Grove Programs, supporting veterans, first responders, and law enforcement by providing free outdoor opportunities to those who serve, have served, and their families.
Back to Maine Knows How. As we get into November, it's very noticeable the flannels are coming out.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting itchy. You see a lot of people scratching because they're getting ready to go to deer camp. And I just want to remind everybody watching that back in August we had Lenny Benoit on, and all about deer tracking. And I just want to point you back there. Check out that show again, because he is the bomb when it comes to tracking deer. But anyway, right now we got to scratch that itch, and it's time for Wyatt to give us a tip.
Yeah. So this month's how-to, and it's deer hunting focused. You know, you can tell it's the beginning of deer season because no one's vest will zip closed because they haven't been running up the mountains. And so going.
Oh, you're looking thin.
There you go. So this month's how-to is all about like your scent on your clothes and your hunting clothes. Scent is a really big thing. Deer can smell so much better than you could imagine.
Ultra fresh downy scent.
Yeah, green apple works great. One of the things that we like to do is we'll take all of our outer layers, all of our hunting clothes, and we'll get a big tote, plastic tote, and fill it full of cedar boughs, and then throw all of our outer layers and our boots and all of our hunting clothes in there, and we'll keep it there all year. And then we'll freshen it up before the season. And then when we go out hunting, we'll actually bring that with us, and we'll go in some of our underlayers. We get to the stand, we take off our slippers, put on all of our outer layers, and then when you do that, you want to make sure you're not standing right next to the exhaust pipe. And what that does is that cleans off a lot of the human scent. You know, if you take your deer hunting jacket out of your closet the 1st of November, and it's been compressed with all of your other cleaning supplies and every other shirt in your dresser, it has a lot of downy scent.
Sure.
And all those smells on it, which aren't natural. And so by doing this, it separates it eliminates that scent, and it gives you a more natural scent.
And you'll literally put them, do you cover the top?
Yeah, you put the cover on,
And the cedar gives it a nice smell all by itself, but it's
kind of
really
a cover scent too.
But it's keeping the human and the other artificial smells
Out of it. Yep. Okay.
Well,
So that's
Wyatt,
this month's
again,
how-to.
and scent, it makes a big difference.
It can. We try to hunt in a way that scent doesn't matter. We try to stay
Neutral.
like downwind of them so they can't smell us. But eventually it's going to happen. And doing this and other kind of, you have the scent-free sprays. I think they work to a point, and it's kind of just a backup.
Right.
Like if and when scent, they get a smell of you, that gives you just a little bit more time to get closer to them and maybe get a shot at one.
Right. Well, that's, this is getting into the layers of hunting, which is really great. So thanks for that tip.
Yeah.
And Maine Knows, and the how-to of the month. That's great, and happy hunting.
Thank you.
This
Now,
this
we have a
November.
great deer story from my dad.
Have you ever shot or hunted for a deer, Bob?
Once in a while, before I started guiding. Now I just try to see if I can get them a shot. You hunt for gunshots now as a guide. You set them up, you do everything you have to do so they can get a shot, and the success doesn't happen until they shoot. So it's completely different. Now you don't carry a firearm, you carry a camera. And so it's different. So when they shoot, it worked. What you had planned worked, you know. This little story, I tell you, it's not that important of a story, but it's two gentlemen we had come from the program from Michigan. Both of them were handicapped and had to hunt out of a track chair, motorized chair. And a friend of ours had some and let me borrow them. And so we used them for a whole week of deer season. And we tried and tried and tried to get these guys a shot at a deer. And they would just cross too far down, or something happened every time. Then finally, the last day, we went and put them out, and we put them on a pole line just up the road here, not far. And they drove their track chair out on the pole line, and it's sitting there, and we put one on one side and one on another, so they could hear each other shoot. They were quite a ways away, but and probably 2 or 3 hours went by. Finally, we heard a gunshot. We said, "Let's see what happened." So we drove up there, and the guy was in the chair, and he said, "Bob, I wouldn't believe it." He goes, "I was sitting here watching that, and I fell asleep." He says, sometimes because of the medication I take makes me a little drowsy. And I was sitting there, the sun was beating on me, and I had an apple. Your wife gave me a Honeycrisp apple, and I ate that. And I was just sitting here and took a nap. He goes, I woke up. I thought I was dreaming. He goes, this monstrous buck was standing right in front of me. He said, I just went, I must be dreaming. He didn't believe it. And he said, it walked right off. And he got to the edge of the power line. I went to pick up my gun, and my strap hit this thing, and the deer turned and looked right at me and stopped. He said, I couldn't get it. He was so nervous. He said, the deer jumped in the woods, and I fired where he was. Didn't get him. He goes, I can't even believe it. I waited a whole lifetime to shoot a big buck. Didn't get him.
Shame he didn't have a camera.
Shame he didn't have a camera.
That's
And his buddy on the other side seen a spike on. And he let it go. He says, I let it go. It's a long ways from home. So I decided to let it go. But finally, after a whole week of multiple people taking these people and trying to get a deer for them, well, at least they seen some. But, you know, you don't have to kill something to have a successful hunt.
No, and
so
that,
it was really fun.
and that's the key. I mean, it's being here at the lodge is its own adventure. And what does a day at the lodge look like during deer season?
Breakfast is at 5, and everybody meets in here, and then Andrea will ring the bell, and they go in and have breakfast, which is a full breakfast, bacon, eggs, and home fries, and pancakes, or whatever it is that day. And then we have a lunch in the woods. The guides will pick you up after they've been sitting on a stand or a ground blind, and we'll have a cookout in the woods if you'd like. Not everybody wants to come out. Some want to stay. Then you'd have a packed lunch. You just tell the girls what you'd like for a sandwich. We got like 7 different kinds of sandwiches and desserts, and they'd pack it for you, and you're gone for the day. And then when you come back, they'll have a dinner for you, a full dinner, and everybody waits in here until 6, and then they ring the bell, and everybody comes in and tells damn deer stories all during dinner.
And those are my favorite part.
Oh, my God.
That's got to be.
Somebody
even-
will see a 6-pointer on Wednesday. By the
Right.
time they leave on Friday, Saturday, it's an 8. When they come back the next year, it's a 12. It was definitely a 12. It was the biggest deer they ever saw. Yeah. So it's always funny to see the progression. They
Yes.
grow. The
Right.
stories grow.
Yeah.
And Bob, you have said in the past that the deer in the Maine woods are different.
They are different. They're a different animal. You know, they put up with a lot of cold and a lot of woods. And, they're heavier boned than a lot of deer in a lot of places. And
Yeah.
these deer are short and stocky and heavy. This is why people come from all over the country to hunt these deer. They're not the biggest horned deer in the world, but there's some heavy deer here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great place to go hunting. It's great to have the lodge here
Yeah.
and to facilitate that. Well, thanks for watching Maine Knows How November edition. Wish everybody out there a good November, good hunting season. Happy Thanksgiving. And if you have success,
Yeah, if you have any good hunting stories or great photos of anything that you've harvested over November, deer season, we'd love to see them. So you can tag us right on Facebook or send it to maineknowshow@gmail.com. Thank you very much.
we'll see you in December.
Maine Knows How. Brought to you by A&G Shooting, Modern Woodmen of America, Mainly Handrails, Pine Grove Programs, and J.W. Parks Golf Course. Digital Spirit Media. Maine Knows How.